Hey, Victoria, welcome to the podcast.
Oh, thank you for having me.
This is a real treat for me because you have such a powerful story. It's been featured on some huge platforms, and all of your work just revolves around, I would say, exposing the dark side of OnlyFans. I think maybe it would be fair to say, and then also you've kind of come out of that scene, and we'll get into the specifics of that. But you've also created a completely new organization helping empower women, and we'll get into all of that as well. So it's really cool to have you here.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it.
So if people haven't heard your story yet, they should definitely go check out your stuff. You've been on some huge platforms. The one with Lecrae, I think, was really, really solid, but you've been on a bunch of them. But maybe you can give us just kind of the Coles notes of your story and what's led you to doing the work you're doing now.
Yeah. So I guess to condense it, I worked for this thing called an OnlyFans agency. It was one of the biggest ones in Australia. Not a lot of people know what they are or that they even exist. But basically my role was to be a digital pimp. And through this work, I was exposed to pornography for the first time. I got to actually see the behind the scenes and the reality of what OnlyFans actually is and what we are normalizing and encouraging and championing. And I guess through this journey of working at this agency, I ended up having a very, very radical encounter with Jesus that caused me to walk away from my entire life within 5 days. And
Wow.
Literally ever since that encounter, I've basically been talking about this story every single day ever since, and that was almost 2 years ago. And this is what we've been doing, honestly, every day ever since.
Wow, it's crazy. So we've had people on the podcast that were like porn stars, very involved in the adult industry, that have similar stories. They encountered Jesus and got out, but never somebody who was more like a recruiter or working for an agency. So I'm really excited to, I guess, just learn a little bit more about that side. But you mentioned a detail that I don't think I knew about your story. Did you say getting into your work with like working for the OnlyFans agency, was that your first exposure to pornography? Is that what you said?
Yeah, I've never been a consumer of it. So I was watching porn for like basically the first time, and it's people that like I've built friendships with and that like I knew. So it was really confronting.
Whoa. How
Yeah.
old were you when you started working for the agency?
25.
Wow. I don't think I've ever met somebody who didn't get exposed to pornography before that age. That's
Like,
crazy.
as weird as this is, my only exposure to porn was like, and this is so gross, please don't anyone look this up, but I don't know if it was big in America, but it was big in Australia, and it was called Two Girls, One Cup. And
Yeah, I remember that phenomenon. Yeah.
yeah, so I think, that was like in year 9, I saw that, so I was like 14. But yeah, just never really enticed me. It was never something I understood. Like, why would you watch porn? Like, I just never got it. So I just didn't watch it.
Wow. And you mentioned having a radical encounter with Jesus, which I definitely want to hear more about. But did you grow up Christian? Did you grow up of faith?
So I actually have a really cool story about this, and I didn't know this story was real until I came into faith. And so this I think is cool. So I kind of grew up in a family that had like a core foundation, I guess, of belief, but unfortunately there was nothing reflective in the home or in any lifestyle that kind of would say that, we followed Jesus, unfortunately. And so I have like some memories of going to church when I was young. But again, we would kind of rock up late. People in my family didn't like worship. So like we'd rock up late, we'd leave early. And just like a limited kind of experience, I guess. And I think when I was about 8 years old, stopped going to church. But there was this one memory that I have, and I must have been like 5, I think 5 or 6, so really little. And I remember being, as far as I can remember, like in children's church, and I'm sitting at the front of like the auditorium, and someone's speaking, and they're telling this story that there was a shooter that came to a school and put a gun to a little girl's head and said, "Denounce God or I'll take your life." And she goes, "No, shoot me." And the gun didn't go off, and they ended up getting the shooter and all of this. And so I always had this story like burned in my brain. So growing up, even though nothing in my life reflected faith in any capacity, whenever these conversations would come up of, do you believe in God? Do you believe in something? I'd be like, yeah. Like, honestly, if you were to point a gun to my head and say that God's not real, I'd probably say, shoot me. Like, I always had this mentality. And then I came into faith, and I would share this story. Like, I don't know where this came from. People go, that's a real story. It was the Columbine shooting in America. And literally a guy went up to a young girl and said this, and the gun didn't go off, and then that's how we got caught, or like something. So it's a real story. And I was like, what?
Jeez.
And
That's
so
insane.
Isn't that so cool? I think the significance of it is just, guys, like, you never know the seeds that God plants in people, right? And you never know when He's ready to harvest that seed within you. So I'm just like, I just think that's so cool and so encouraging.
That is incredible. That's really good foreshadowing for where we're going to hear that later part of your story. But it also makes it that much crazier to me that you didn't get exposed to pornography before you were 25. I almost just can't believe that, because in my life, obviously, I'm helping guys quit porn all the time. So you're hearing stories of early exposure, and I've never heard that before. So that's quite wild. So you work for this OnlyFans agency. What does that mean exactly?
Yeah. So not a lot of people, even know that these things exist. And so I guess the easiest way to break down what an OnlyFans agency is there's kind of like three main elements to one. And so the whole reason why OnlyFans agencies exist is to pretend to be the girl on their behalf to make as much money as possible. And so for people that maybe aren't really familiar with how OnlyFans works, the main allure
Yeah,
of
fill us
OnlyFans.
in, because I don't even know.
Okay, yeah. So the reason why it's so much more, I guess, successful than just say like traditional pornography, or it's blown up, sorry, I should say this phenomenon the way that it has, is because with, I guess, like uh, normal porn, whatever you want to call it, like Pornhub and all of those places, you're clicking on it and it's like you don't really feel like you have this connection, right? Where with OnlyFans, that girl that you follow on Instagram, wait a minute, I can jump onto her OnlyFans and I can build a relationship with her. I can have conversations with her because it's all done through direct messaging, right? So the main allure is that you'll see girls that promote their OnlyFans and they'll be like, come chat with me on OF. I'm live now, or come message me or whatever. And so people go, oh, dang it. I can actually build some sort of relationship with this girl. I can get her to do anything that I want sexually because we have these things called custom requests and whatever. And so it's this false sense of I'm seen by someone, I have a connection to someone, and I'm being like sexually satisfied by someone. And so if you think about this now, like put a business lens on it, if you have a girl who maybe just say has like hundreds of thousands of followers on her Instagram, well, she's funneling all those followers from Instagram to her OnlyFans, right?
Right.
But how can she sit there and facilitate thousands of conversations 24/7, 7 days a week, fulfill all the content requirements, continue to promote her account on other platforms, and do all of this? She can't. So she has to offset that work. So that's where agencies come into the picture and they take and offset all that work. So they're the ones who are messaging, they're the ones who are running the accounts, they're doing all the marketing, they're telling her what to post, and they're maintaining the health of the account and building the earning capacity on the account.
Sheesh. And then the agencies get a cut of the earnings in return?
Yeah.
Okay. So OnlyFans is like kind of DM driven then? Like that's how it starts with the conversation, and then from that you can, I guess, pay for content, and
Yeah.
various types of content cost more money depending on what you want?
Yeah, so there's, I guess, the intricacies of it is like there's these different things that are called pay per view. So you have locked content, and people pay per view for this type of content. You have custom requests, so people can send in any type of request that they want, and there's just a dollar figure attached to it. But yeah, the whole main allure is that you sit there and you have conversations in DMs with these girls, supposedly.
And the custom requests are actually fulfilled by the model, but it's the conversations that are more or less outsourced.
Yeah, so think of it like an agency is just like the middleman. But that's
Yeah.
why I say it's like a digital pimp, because your role is
Yeah.
basically, yeah, to make sure that you know where the girl is at all, because you're keeping up a facade, right? So if you have someone who's like a subscriber, and we had this, who's like, hey, I saw on your Instagram that you're here or you're there, and us as like management have no idea. Like we have to be like, hey, where are you? What's your schedule? What are you doing? Where, like, and know as
Hmm.
much as we can about the girl and her whereabouts and all the things, because we need to be able to relay this to the subscribers to keep up the
It's
image.
crazy. That's
Yeah.
crazy. And then how important is this, is like my business brain now. So
Yeah.
when someone makes a request for content, how important is the speed of getting that back? Is that important? Does that matter, or is there a window of time that's allowed before, to return something, to return a request?
Yeah, so this is where like a big illusion that people have is, oh, it's so easy. I can just jump into OnlyFans. I bet that I can just like take some pictures of my feet and like make a bunch of money, right? And like that was my lens of when I was approached to be a part of this business of like, oh, like I don't think it's that much work. It just seems like chicks just jump on there and like make heaps of money really easy. But there is such a significant content requirement. So there's this thing in OnlyFans, it's called a vault, and your vault is where all your content is stored. So you need to have such like a bank of content because you're pumping out so
Oh,
much. So we can either draw from the vault and send that content out. Or if you have a custom request, because we're not the ones chatting on the accounts, you actually hire like this is like a whole thing in itself. But you hire like cheap labor from third world countries, and they're the ones that are
sure. Yeah,
actually
you have VAs that do it. Of course.
yeah,
Yeah, that
yeah.
just makes sense. Yeah.
And so yeah, again, you're not chatting to the girl; it's like some dude in the Philippines. And
It's
so
crazy.
it's wild, right? And so it's a what the chatters would have, well, at our agency anyway, is a spreadsheet. And so because it's a commission based role for a lot of chatters, um, they have to put in the spreadsheet how many custom requests they got. They put in which like model had the request, what was the date, and then we send it to the girl, and then we're the ones that have to keep track of it to be like, hey, can you fulfill this like as soon as possible type of thing.
Wow. That's wild. But you're also saying that some content is just recycled
Hmm.
because it meets the criteria of the request that's coming in.
Yeah.
Wow. That's crazy. Okay, and then the VAs get paid they're commission based. So what are the qualities of somebody if somebody's really crushing it in the DMs, what are they doing that really gets people to spend more in on the account?
Yeah, this is, I think it's so sad because I feel like this is like not something that's super spoken about. And you kind of were talking about how you talk to a lot of young men, like about porn and porn exposure. An organization that I partner with in Texas called Demand Disruption, one of the people there puts this so eloquently. He's like, you're not the one consuming, you're actually the one being consumed. And we have to remember that there's like a $97 billion industry that is targeting men to make money off them. The baseline of this is literally to make money. And so what we would do is we would train our chatters in the girlfriend experience. How do you talk to a guy and be like, good morning, I was thinking about you. What are you doing today? How's it? And like we would literally have guys who were like, oh, I just want to like lie in the grass with you and spend, and we'd facilitate these like weird scenarios of like, we'll just lie down and like, let's look at the stars and we're holding hands. And he's like, oh, this is amazing. Like,
Wow.
and so it's this false sense of intimacy. It's this false sense of relationship. And so chatters that were, I guess, good are the ones that were able to build some sort of girlfriend experience with these men. And then through this, that's where you can then switch the conversation to a more sexualized one. And then that's how you get more money.
Wow. Okay, so the setters that are good just know how to really engage them at an emotional level, and then obviously facilitate the conversation, reaching that point where you make an ask for some content, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Wow. This is crazy. This is like I'm learning way more than I thought I would. And it's funny because I have a YouTube teaching channel. My most popular video, well, actually, it changed this week, but before this week, my most popular video was kind of this, a bit of an expose on OnlyFans and just talking about kind of the rise of it and how it all started. Maybe you can actually confirm a few facts for me. My understanding is that OnlyFans originally started to share music or for people who basically wanted to like have their own, I guess, kind of their own following and monetize it because there were other industries like the music industry that was kind of getting decimated. So it was a way for other creators to, it wasn't meant to be like this huge adult content platform, but it kind of started more broad. Is that true?
Well, I thought that. And I thought like, because what it started back in 2016, and my lens was like, it was a way to decentralize mainstream social media, monetize a platform, build like a niche community. But then I did a podcast with, do you know Brittany Delamora?
I do. Yeah, yeah. She's been on the podcast before, and I've been
Yeah,
on hers. Yeah.
that's what I thought that. Yeah, that's what I thought you were kind of referencing before. She was telling me this, right? That she was at a porn convention back, I think, before 2020 or something, and there was OnlyFans tables at the porn conventions, and they were paying people $100 to sign up to OnlyFans. So
Oh,
now, yeah. So now I'm like, well, I wonder if like again, maybe it was like a both at like who knows, because I'm like they always had not safe for work content on there from my understanding. They tried to get it taken down, but they still have like held strong. I think that OnlyFans got like sued supposedly a couple years ago, and they said it was about like credit card vendors and stuff. But all of this to say,
right.
they've always had not safe for work content on there. So I thought that it had more like innocent beginnings. But now I'm
Yeah.
like, I wonder if they were always like, well, this is how you make the most money is by like having
Oh,
sexual
interesting. See, the when I was doing the research, I forget that is it Tim Stokely? I'm forgetting the name now. But the guy who started it, he had a bunch of different startups. My understanding is there was a rule that you couldn't post any adult content when they first started, but it wasn't the platform wasn't gaining traction. So I think it was 2018 that they lifted the ban, and then that's when OnlyFans kind of started to evolve and take on its own form. I could be wrong about that, but that's what I found in my research.
Yeah, I wouldn't know about that, but I had the same like I thought that it was like innocent things, and then I think that
Yeah.
it was 2020 is when it just really blew up as a not safe for work platform.
How old were you? Or sorry, not how old were you? What year was it when you started working for the agency?
2023.
Oh, okay, got it. So it had already kind of had its rise and was obviously
Yeah,
continuing to rise.
yeah, yeah.
Okay, got it. And it was a good career opportunity for you to work for this agency. What was the draw?
Well, so yeah, it was my lens was this. So my background is in like businesses and marketing and specifically startups. Like I love startups.
Okay.
And I was actually working with another really good friend of mine, and she was in hospitality and building restaurants. So we were doing these like dumb working hours. We were working like 100-hour work weeks. Anyone who's worked in hospo as well, like it's brutal. And so
Oh
what had
man.
happened was, for months and months on end, we're doing these 100-hour work weeks, we're building these businesses, all the things. And I was like, I am exhausted. Like, I need a holiday. And so I went to Europe for a month. And while I was in Europe, I had another friend be like, hey, Vic, we've decided to start this own, like, build an OnlyFans agency. And so, I already knew people that I guess were in the OnlyFans world. They were pretty like big creators, and they were complaining about their agencies. And so my friend who had approached me has like an exceptional educational background, really smart. And then they'll will kind of like, okay, well, we've got a bunch of women already in the industry, already made money, someone who has a really good like knowledge and background. They were an ex-criminal defense lawyer, so a really good background in law and understanding all of that. And then if we get Vic, who actually has the business and marketing experience, this will be a really strong business. So that was the lens. And so for me, I'm like, I need to get out of hospitality. Like I'm exhausted. So I came back from the trip, and I quit working there to start basically helping to build this business. So it was like a boots on the ground, like startup business. Yeah.
Oh wow. Okay, got it. Got it. And then so you mentioned kind of when you're starting to grow, and a big part of it is facilitating the chats, the conversations, keeping people engaged, obviously. And then I'm curious if an agency would be kind of, I guess, behind the scenes for stunts like Liliana Phillips sleeping with 100 guys in 24 hours, or there's another one, slept with. I think she one upped her and did 1,000. It was 1,000 guys in 24 hours or something like that. Are you putting those kinds of strategies together to help some of these people grow their reach and build their platforms up?
I wonder if it wouldn't surprise me if there was like other agencies that were totally doing things like that. What
Okay.
is interesting and unique, I guess, so the specific agency that I was at, we kind of talk about like the organic scale of escalation, I guess you can say. So when a girl would be onboarded, we would have like a questionnaire. And so in the questionnaire, it's every single detail that you can think about a girl to be able to best represent her. And we had these things called levels. And so level one was basically like what was it? Level one was like bikini and Instagram content. And so level two was like implied nudity. Level three, it was full nudity. Level four, and excuse the language, was everything but anal. And then level five was everything, right? And so if you think about that psychologically, if you're ticking like level one, you're going, well, I'm at the bottom. Does that mean I have to get to level five to make money? And then as well, when we would have girls who would maybe be like, my like earnings aren't where they need to be or whatever, we had this lens on as just like an unspoken cultural thing of well, you're just a level 2. What do you expect? And so we
Mm,
actually, over time, I was the one who was like, let's just get rid of level 1. Like Instagram and bikini content, you see that on social media. No one's going to pay for that on OnlyFans. So now already you're inaugurated into an ecosystem that says your baseline level is implied nudity, where people go, wait, I just think I can sell my, I just think that. So do you see how it's this slow escalation of softly influence? So the reason I say that is it wouldn't surprise me if agencies would be like, hey, do you want to make money? Do you know how competitive it is? Maybe if you do, because we were already doing that, but obviously just in a different framework to something as probably as wild as, hey, do you want to go sleep with, 1,000
yeah.
men?
Yeah. And then was there a correlation with the higher the level, generally the more money they're making?
There was the correlation honestly was between the younger the girl, the more money. So the younger she looked,
Oh,
usually would correlate with more money.
got it. The younger she looked. And then I guess this is probably the best time that there would be for this question. Is there some sort of age verification that the platform requires, or is it possible that there's underage people on there?
Oh, there is definitely underage people. Like there is definitely underage people. I know girls that I know parents who have daughters in high school and the daughters are like, yep, like all my like I have friends on OnlyFans, like and they're like 15. Um
Jeez.
it's again the agency where I was at specifically, we knew that was illegal, so we didn't do anything like illegal. Um but the like age verification process is literally like an ID. Like it's not that deep.
Yeah. It's, I
Hmm.
guess, like getting a fake ID to get into a bar. People are doing that
Yeah,
all the time, so they can fake it
exactly.
that way too.
Yeah.
Wow, it's crazy. I'd love to hear your perspective. I mean, in my coaching practice, we've helped over 1,000 guys quit porn. So I have my natural theories as to why this would be, but I'd love to hear your perspective. Why the more younger they look, the more money they make?
It's such a good question. I I've had people like ask me that before of why do you think the younger makes more money? And I think that there's like this weird thing, like this weird archetype of like the sexualization of like childlikeness and like
Mm,
innocence and like destruction of innocence. Like if you want to go like not surface level of like, well, men just are visual and they like things that look younger. No, 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 no. There's like this allure to the that's the only word I can think of, a destruction of innocence. Because why is it as well that the porn industry itself, the average age of exposure, I've read studies, is like 7 to 9 years old. It's like a really big lens that I have in this is let's not attack like the person, let's attack the problem. And so again, the problem is this $97 billion industry. And it has this way that I think that the younger that it can destroy someone, the more it can bring them along their entire life of being in this
yes.
ecosystem. And so
Yes.
that's honestly what I think it is there's this sick and twisted and demented allure to things that look young that should have a heart of, I want to protect that. I want to honor that. I want to value that because it's valuable and it's precious. But it's twisted it to go, how do I steal that innocence? How do I conquer that innocence? How do I take that? And I think that it does something within men because there is, again, a scale of escalation for you guys in the consumption of pornography because you might start out watching something that's not as wild and then you get more desensitized and then before you know it you're watching more and then it's this and then and then you get a curiosity peak. I talk to so many men that tell me about that and they'll get like a thought in their head, would you ever watch gay porn? No, I should. Oh, maybe should I? And then before you know it, that's what. And then would you ever watch child? Oh no, I would never. But then it's a curiosity, and then it builds something. And so, yeah, I don't know if that answers your question well, but
No,
that's
it
definitely
makes
the lens
sense.
of it. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think it's a great answer. It makes a lot of sense on the childhood piece, kind of that innocence and how alluring that is. And then what you just described, like the neuroscience word is desensitization, right? The stuff you get watching it, eventually it kind of you build a tolerance for it. So you either need something more intense, something that's brand new, something to kind of keep getting the hit, like you said, to pique that curiosity and kind of keep yourself going. So that makes a lot of sense. It's kind of terrifying though to think that the younger looking you are. I guess this explains why you have like there's like a Christian OnlyFans model. I won't use her name, but who's making obscene amounts of money and is very very young. I think 19, 20 years old. So I guess she would fit the bill of just checking a bunch of boxes, right? There's kind of mystery around it. There's a little bit of a niche there, like talking about her faith. But then obviously, it sounds like the biggest thing is she's young and she looks very young.
Yeah, and she promotes that she's a virgin as well. So I think that again, it's that destruction of innocence that like is
Oh,
so weirdly alluring.
right, right. So, and you said something earlier about the early exposure thing, which I've really been a big advocate for as well. Is the industry knows what they're doing. They know the younger that you get exposed, the longer they're going to have you as an adult and into your adult years. It's like it's an LTV thing, right? Like your lifetime value just increases if you get exposed at a young age. You're going to stick around longer, and they can make more money off your attention. So with OnlyFans, what are like the strategies that get employed to keep people coming back again and again? I guess I'm specifically wondering now, like about the chats and just some of the strategies. What keeps somebody coming back and increases their LTV, as it were, from a client perspective?
I think that again, it's the simplicity of like relationship building, and that's one of the strongest things that you can use. Right, if you can get someone invested in you, then they're going to follow you, like no matter what field or industry you're in. And so, if you can have like a really strong presence in like your marketing. Because that's a huge element in this as well. And like you'll hear a lot of girls who are, I guess, quite high up in OnlyFans talk about this. A lot of the Bop House girls talk about this. That there's such a big marketing element to this. And so if you can create a story, if you can then also, we actually had people that we had hired at the agency that would study algorithms. And so then if you can manipulate algorithms, if you can then make people go mega viral, like we were getting girls on like fresh TikTok accounts in 7 days on like one video, 2.2 million views. And so, if you can
Whoa.
manipulate these things, if you can then spread it out in a massive way, you're going to pull in a lot of people. There's a storyline to it. And so, people are going to become invested in you and then they're going to follow along. So, it's honestly all just relationship building.
Wow. Wow. And it sounds like it's not just OnlyFans. It's actually leveraging like social media and some of those other platforms to get eyeballs, get people's attention. And then OnlyFans is kind of like deeper in the funnel, I guess, as it were.
Yeah, yeah. So you can't promote, like, you don't jump onto OnlyFans and scroll through and like find people's accounts. You use TikTok, Instagram, Snapchat, dating apps like
Oh,
Reddit, X, all of that to promote OnlyFans because you have a bigger pool of people. And then exactly, you put them into a funneling system that ends them at OnlyFans.
okay. That makes so much sense. Okay. I'm learning so much. It's really, really insightful. And part of the reason I'm actually curious about learning some of the stuff is, I've been cleaning pornography since 2016, ironically, when OnlyFans started, which is probably why I know zero about the platform. But I'm having more clients now who, like, I'm thinking of a client earlier this year who, his marriage is falling apart. He's not in a good place. He's been addicted to pornography for a long time, and he had a bunch of affairs. That was kind of in his intake form. So when we were meeting and I'm asking about the affairs and that kind of thing. He had 3 affairs all during the pandemic, and then he said he found out later that he was actually, it was all online. It was DMs, it was chats. I don't know if it was OnlyFans or not, but he found out that they were all bots. So that these kinds of stories are becoming normal now. So that's why I'm kind of curious and trying to just understand this a little bit better. You said something that really caught my attention. You said men think they're the consumers of this platform or of the content, but actually they're being consumed. What do you mean by that? I know you already explained it a bit, but I want to hear more. How are men being consumed?
Well, I think that, and this is where it's like, again, we were creating specific, targeted, provocative content to put out onto the internet to target a man's weakest essence. And so a big emphasis here is that it doesn't negate behavior. And of course, there always needs to be accountability. But if you can, again, zoom out and look at the problem. And the problem, again, is an industry that is targeting multi generations. I've spoken with 80-year-old men that are like widowers, and somehow they've gotten caught up in pornography to help with like their loneliness. And now they're stuck in this cycle. And then, of course, you've got your young men, like your story is a great anecdote of one. And then you've got the children that are like being exposed. So it's like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
Zoom out here. Not all men are these bad monsters that are just consuming porn and wanting to destroy women. It's like, no, 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 no. There's literally a industry that is like, hey, we want to destroy you. Like, let's just put it bluntly. We want to take your money. We want you to be addicted and consumed. And I think that that's a really important part here, because then for a lot of men, when I've spoken about that and spoken about how intentional we are with our marketing, how intentional we are with targeting you, you could be like someone who loves Jesus and goes to church and does all the right things and a man, but as soon as you open this up, there is so much that is screaming at you. And so how do you navigate that? And I think that it's really important that we do highlight that for men, to be able to say, hey, you're not just some monster. You're actually someone who is really trying to navigate a tumultuous time right now. How do we educate you about this? How do we get you to understand the ecosystem that's behind this? And I believe when you can do that, it helps men to then identify these things, because I'm sure you've had these conversations with men of, again, you someone who maybe hasn't done this, and then a lot of guys are probably sitting there going, how did I get here? How did this like, I don't understand how I did this. So again, that's targeted, that's intentional. We just spoke even about funneling systems to end you from being on TikTok to then on a porn platform. So I think that it's just something that's not highlighted or spoken about enough of, hey, again, we don't excuse the behavior, of course, but we need to have a different lens of this, instead of just berating men, belittling men, putting men down and saying that they're just, horrible people that consume this. Hey, wait a minute. How do we zoom out? How do we see they're the ones being consumed, and we're all just pawns in this ecosystem?
Is it true that most men on the platform that are users are married?
I literally just looked up some statistics this morning. I'm wondering if I can get it up for you, because it is crazy.
Yeah, I just found some this week as well. My team and I were doing some research, so I'm very curious to hear your thoughts on this.
So OnlyFans users for marital status, 89.5% of users are married.
That's the same one I saw.
That's like, I looked up some statistics last year, and I'm like, it's still the same. Majority of people that are on OnlyFans are married men. That's crazy. Heterosexual
crazy.
married men.
Crazy. Because the profile you just described, right? A married man, Christian, Bible believing, church going kind of guy, probably a lot of them in this category. So I guess to kind of like go a layer deeper in this question, they're targeting the weak parts of a man, which I guess are his desire for connection and intimacy. Is that like kind of what we've talked about? But then are there other elements there that, like, what else would be targeted if you're trying to get men to consume this content?
I think that there's that, but then also just the sexuality part. Obviously, if a man is just, say, jumping on TikTok, and you've got, like, one of the trends that we did at the agency was, imagine if a girl has like a big mirror and she's like doing all her makeup, right? And then you have these like little, like, the little compact mirrors that are like the smaller ones.
Yeah. The travel ones. Yeah.
Yeah. So you've got like a big mirror, and then you've got like a vanity, and you've got all these little compact mirrors, and all the mirrors are facing up. And so it's got this song that's playing in the background, and it's a very like sexualized song. And then it's just a girl, and she's just scanning all the mirrors. And the caption is, "Did you see it?" And then you go, "Did you see it? Did I see what?" You've got this music, right? So you've got the sensory thing, and then you're looking and you already can tell from the music that like this is something a little provocative. And then you spot it. And then in the mirror, there's a girl in lingerie. And so then you're like, oh my, but you've already watched it 20 times to be able to figure out what it is that I'm trying to see. So then it does something within you.
So then it bumps up in the algorithm as well. And that's how you kind of get the virality.
And then, you click on the next video, because now you're feeling a type of way because you've just been targeted by this. And then before you know it, you're watching all her TikToks, and then you're on her Instagram, and then you're clicking the link in the bio. So there's obviously the intimacy and connection part that happens in the platform. But before that, your weakest essence, I think, as a man, is your curiosity and your sexuality.
Wow. Sheesh. That's crazy. It makes so much sense what you're saying. That's why, like, I almost can't believe it. Like, it's so spot on. And it's crazy how subtly, I guess, you're able to take advantage and capitalize on that using TikTok videos and reels and everything else.
Yeah. Yeah. And so that's why I think that it's such a beautiful, I guess, phrase, what Joe at Demand Disruption says of you're not the consumers necessarily, you're the one being consumed. Because again, it's a great example of maybe, you've just gone to church and you innocently just go on your TikTok, and then this happens to you. And so again, that's why we see so many men that sit there and they're at this point where they just go, how did I get in this? It's like, hey, you got inaugurated into this ecosystem that you didn't even understand that you were getting yourself into.
Yeah. Yeah, it's crazy. What do you think? I know you and I have just found the same stat around the same time here, just the last couple of days. Why do you think married men are on the platform so much? Is that where the connection piece comes in? Maybe they're experiencing disconnection at home in their
Mm,
marriages, and so OnlyFans and those kinds of things offer a substitution, or what's going on there?
yeah. I've been having this conversation so much lately, and I don't know if I have like a fully fleshed out perspective, but I've been so many conversations with such a spectrum of men on what is a man, what is masculinity, and where does a man actually fit in our society right now. And I think that it's a really weird place that men are in culturally because if you have a look at women and just say this new era of feminism, a woman can be any archetype that she wants to be. And there's actually in culture so many different women that women can connect with, right? So if you want to be some crazy boss babe, you can go do it. If you want to be the trad wife that makes sourdough and like everything in between, you can resonate with someone and you find a place, right? Where with men, there's still really isn't that like if you're into sports you're like yep I resonate with athletes, or if you're into gym like you're a gym bro and you got to be super, or you got to be a business guy, or like where do I really fit in the world? And then so there's that lens of men don't really have a lot of role models, and the only ones that they kind of really resonate with that feel seen is unfortunately people like Andrew Tate, which has his positives and negatives. And so then it's like, okay, I want to be a man. I have this thing in me. I'm supposed to have a greater calling and a yearning for adventure and to protect and provide and do something that's greater than myself. But then also we have such a toxic feminist culture that crushes men, that it's like you need to be like a simp basically, like just to put it in really simple terms for people to get. And so there's like this tension within men, and I see that so often, and it's such a conversation that I have of like guys don't know where they fit in, where they belong, what their purpose is. And then if they try to be a manly man in quotation marks, they're told that they're, you know, a bigot, or they're told that they belittle
Yeah.
women. Or so I think that it's really hard for men right now to understand their identity and their value and their worth and where do they fit in. And then if you have a look at potentially, again, I don't know if I fully think this, so this is us just like word vomiting and like brainstorming with you. Um, if you don't have like a faith-based lens, I think, of what a marriage is, and what a man is supposed to do in a marriage and how he's supposed to love, then you see these marriages that are outside the context of understanding what it is. And again, well, a man just has to do that. He just has to do, he's in the corner. He's always wrong. He's useless. And so then they go, well, what am I good for? And then I think that
Mm,
that's where the allure comes in on like a really big social scale, you
yeah.
know?
Yeah, it's a really good point actually, because my team and I, I live like 20 minutes from Niagara Falls. So we went to Niagara Falls, we hit record, and we just said, okay, we're going to go find people and just interview them about public perceptions around pornography and adult content and all that kind of stuff. And I was a little bit nervous. We hadn't done it before. And the first person we interviewed, you know, she was very anti-pornography. She's, you know, I think pornography is terrible. I have little boys. I'm like praying that they never encounter it, and I'm thinking all the time about how to protect them from it, and you know, whatever. Which I didn't know it was Niagara Falls. You know, we could have found somebody super on the other side who thinks pornography is great, right? So I didn't know what we were going to find. So I was a little bit relieved, and then I said, okay, you know, are you in a relationship? She said, yeah, I've been married happily for, you know, X number of years. And I said, well, how would you feel if your husband was watching pornography? And she said, oh, he does watch pornography. And I was like, oh, okay. And she said, yeah, you know, he's been honest with me about it. I'm aware. And I said, but you know, we just spent 5 minutes talking about how bad it is. You just stated some very specific harmful effects. You're okay with this? She said, yeah, you know, everybody watches pornography. You know, it's just the state of the world we live in. Like there was such a like acceptance of it. It's just normal. So now as we're talking, I'm realizing there's probably some of that going on in that statistic. If 89% of users are married men, I'm sure a bunch of them are in maybe those kinds of relationships where their spouse doesn't want them to, but also has maybe just resolved this is the way things are.
And I think that comes down to, oh my gosh, this is like a deeper thing in itself of like, well, like, I think it comes down to like, how do you view sex then? Because if you don't view it as something that is sacred and holy and something that is literally created by God in union and as worship and all these other things, you're going to see it as a transaction. You're not actually going to see it as anything that probably does hold weight that, hey, even if it's not just say a faith-based lens, if you're someone who's in maybe like a secular relationship and you don't hold weight and value to the significance of what it means to be in a marriage and to, have that type of intimacy with someone, I can then understand why people would be like, well, who cares? It's just a transaction. It's not something that's important. Maybe and so I think again, it just comes down to your perception and the weight that you hold to it. And then unfortunately, I think a lot of women are in a really, this is where it's like a both and. I think a lot of women are in a really hard situation. I literally saw a TikTok video of a girl, I don't know if it was real or not, but like it's the whole point of it, right? Um, whose boyfriend was like, I'm going to go to the Bonnie Blue petting zoo. And she goes, what? No, you're not. And he goes, why? I can do whatever I want. Like, it's not weird, it's normal. And she's like devastated because she's like, and so it's like there's this thing that because porn is so normalized, because over sexualization is such a thing, and sex has no value, well, you're weird for thinking that I'm weird for watching porn. It's so normal. And so
Yeah.
then what's a woman to do in a relationship if she really likes someone, maybe has some values, insecurity, whatever? Um,
Yeah.
how do you navigate that? That's really hard.
That's such a good point. Because yeah, you either I think as a woman from the female side, you either have the this is just normal and I have to accept it, or you can draw a line in the sand. And we have a big following on Instagram. We get a lot of women reaching out who are like, hey, I'm drawing this line in the sand because I don't like it. But it kind of eliminates most of the people out there because most guys think it's normal, or most guys aren't willing to give it up, or sometimes I was in a relationship with a guy who was trying to give it up, but he couldn't, and it was just hurting me too much, and I had to get out. And so I guess women, like, there's a story for women on this side as well. Like, it's not easy for them either, because those are not fun places to be if you're really trying to get into a committed relationship.
The amount of women as well, that's why again, I don't mean to harp on it, but I hope that people can hear this. We have to attack the problem, because the amount of poor women that I meet that are like, yeah, my boyfriend was addicted to porn, my boyfriend cheated on me with a bunch of OnlyFans girls, my boyfriend, and it destroys you, right?
Yeah. Oh
Even
yeah.
yeah, and so it's like, even like the amount of women that have had like abusive things happen to them in intimacy because of what men have seen in porn, and just horrible, horrible things. And so again, it's like, hey guys, how do we focus on the problem? Because I think a huge issue, especially as I've come into this activism world, is the even I don't know if you see this of men pointing the finger at women and women pointing the finger at men,
Of
and it's like,
course. Yeah.
yeah. And it's like, well, you're not sleeping with him enough, or you're not this, or you're not that. And it's like, oh my gosh, guys, like, if we keep pointing fingers at each other, we're never going to get to the root cause of this. And so how do we somehow stop this division between males and females? And I'm hurt because of this, and we're all hurt. Dating
Yeah.
sucks. This world is cooked in many ways for love and relationships, and it's so warped. So, hey, how do we come together? How do we champion each other? How do we value each other? How do we respect each other? What does that
Yes.
look like? And then
Yes.
from there, we can go, okay, we can reject this. Let's build a new culture. Let's reject all of this and call each other to higher standards.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's why I like the work you're doing, which we'll get into, because I think you really are making the world a better place and championing a new culture, a new reality for women, especially. Um, on that note, when it comes to OnlyFans, because I think the other side of it is a lot of young girls are seeing these famous OnlyFans models who are making millions of dollars, and they're rich and they're famous. And I imagine it's inspiring a whole generation of women, young women, but then also I think there's tons of stories now of teachers and doctors and women of all kinds of professions quitting their jobs to get onto OnlyFans and to earn their living that way. Can you talk a little bit about just the distorted reality? Because it definitely sounds like, I mean, if I've done my research right, it's like 1% of the 1% actually make really good money. I think I forget what the numbers. It's like $180 a year or something like that. The typical OnlyFans model, right? So, can you just lay out the actual realities here, especially from a female perspective?
Yeah, so you're totally correct. And I literally was looking up the statistics this morning of like 2025 fresh ones. So $150 to $180 is the average wage a month for an OnlyFans
A
creator.
month. Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
And still, it's been the same. It hasn't changed since last year. Only I think there's almost 3 million now content creators on OnlyFans. And
Wow.
only 300 of those 3 million make more than $1 million a year.
Oh, it's that small.
Yeah.
300 of 3.3 million or 3 million, sorry.
Yeah. It's wild.
Wow.
So,
Huh.
the thing that I think is such the deceptive part of the sex industry is it paints itself as a solution to a problem. And so it paints itself as, are you struggling with student debt? Are you just struggling to make ends meet? Do you want to live a better
Yeah.
life? Well, come do this and it's going to solve all your problems. But what people don't understand is it's deception, it's a guise. We were doing that at the agency. We would legitimately throw these crazy parties in multi-million dollar mansions. We were hiring the luxury cars. We were doing the dinners. Like we were doing all of that to paint a picture to people that if you want this lifestyle, the way to get it is OnlyFans. But then, if you had a look at the girls, these are just flash in the pan moments of maybe once every 4 months you would have a party, right? But every single day you are depressed, the amount of drug abuse, alcohol abuse, mental health, you're just destroyed. And what are you going to do in between these once off parties, right? Like,
Yeah.
you're selling yourself sexually, you're not making a lot of money realistically. So then what are you going to go do? Well, all your porn's all over the internet. So I might as well go work in a brothel. I might as well go work in a strip club. I might as well go do escorting now because I've already done this. So again, that escalation. And I know I was last week with a lady that goes into the brothels in Sydney. The amount of women that are in the brothels in Sydney because they started OnlyFans, didn't make a lot of money, and are like, well, what do I do now? And so now they're doing in-person sex work instead of digital sex work.
Wow.
And so we don't talk about that element. And then even another story is one of the girls at the OnlyFans agency. I ran into her like in a really weird way. I was co-hosting an event for like business creatives, and she rocked up. The other co-host had invited her. And so I just disappeared off the planet Earth and then came up talking about Jesus and that porn's bad. And so um, he sees me and goes, Vic, what happened? And so I get to tell her this story, right? And she tells me, she's like, Vic, a week after you left, I left. And she goes, I'm so grateful that I had a way out. Like, I'm so grateful because not a lot of women do. I had a hobby, and her hobby was this totally different industry that she ended up making her business. And so in the past year, her business has blown up. I'm talking completely different. And she sat
Hmm.
there and she goes, Vic, do you know how proud I am that I can come to these events now and I don't have to lie about what I do? I don't have to say I'm a content creator.
Yeah.
About 3 weeks, maybe a month after we had that interaction, um, she put up that one of her old subscribers had kept all her pornography and sent it all to her brand new clients that she had in a totally different industry that had nothing to do with this at all. And all of them got sent her porn. Like,
Oh,
what do you,
jeez.
so people don't understand that again, it paints itself as a solution to a problem. I have money issues. I want to be able to be successful and have these luxurious lifestyles. And realistically, no, you're going to make not a lot of money. You're going to try get out of this industry, probably get into other sex work. Even if you get out of this industry and do something completely different, you have no idea of the consequences that are going to follow you. Like this sweet girl that is trying to rebuild her life, and somehow a client, an old subscriber, sends all her porn to brand new clients in a totally different industry. Like that just breaks your heart.
And there's no escaping it. Like that's just the reality of the digital world.
Yeah, one of another lady that I was having a conversation with, she was one of Australia's like biggest dominatrix, and she had asked me in an interview, like, what would you say to young girls? And I'm like, well, honestly, babe, what would you say? Because I think we have two very different answers. And she said that. She goes, I'm almost 50 and my content never gets taken down. Another place pops up, another one. We get rid of it here. It's never going to be off the internet. She's like, I'm a Sunday school teacher now. But these kids that I teach in Sunday school can literally jump on the internet and watch me do these horrific BDSM things. Like,
Wow.
it follows you the rest of your life.
Oh, it's crazy. And now that I understand sort of the top of funnel that social media is for these OnlyFans models, it makes sense that there's kind of this illusion that if you get on OnlyFans, you're going to make bank. Because even if only 300 out of 3 million made, 300 out of 3 million made over $1 million. But those 300 people have a huge footprint between TikTok, Instagram, and everything else. So the stories are kind of everywhere. So I can see why that illusion is created, even though the number is actually quite small of people that are making that kind of money.
Yeah.
Wild.
Yeah, it's crazy, isn't it?
So did it ever get to you? Like, I know there's an encounter Jesus story here, which I feel like we're about to get into. But before that, did it ever hit you what you're doing? Did it ever wear on you? Did you ever have moral or ethical questions? Or for the most part, like, you're clearly a very sharp, intelligent woman, business minded. So for you, was it just, we're just building this agency and I'm just kind of doing my thing?
So what had happened for me is in the beginning, it was that way, but I was doing all the marketing, right? So I actually never got to see the back end of what we were actually doing behind the scenes. And so what had happened is, just say if I'm doing all the marketing and then you've got the OnlyFans account manager that's running all of the OnlyFans stuff behind the scenes, but you're the subscriber and you're talking to the girl on OnlyFans, but then you're talking to her on social media. But as management, we're not communicating. Well, the subscriber starts to see holes in the stories, right? And so that's where we went, okay, we need to restructure our end. So instead of doing all of the marketing for all the girls, and then again, the OnlyFans account manager doing all OnlyFans account managing, we actually split the girls in half. And then you would do the full life cycle. So you would do marketing and account management. And so when I started doing account management, is when I started to jump on the actual back end of OnlyFans. I started to see what we were doing. That's when I got exposed to porn for the first time. Like, that's when
Oh, wow. So you didn't even get exposed to it like initially in the job. It happened
no,
later on.
I was doing all the front end stuff. And so, yeah, and that's why, like, it's that desensitization stuff again, because you're so desensitized to what you're seeing digitally. But anyways, so I'm now seeing porn, and it's people that I know, people that I built relationships with. And the only way I can explain it is I'm like, I just was malfunctioning. I'm crying every day. I can't open up my laptop. I'm looking at these girls and I'm like, you're really kind. You're really smart. You're so funny. You're so generous. You have such excellent family values. And this is what you're doing. This is what we're promoting. And so I started to ask questions. Like, I started to ask people at the agency, like, what do you think about what we're doing? And, one person was like, it's like a safe injecting heroin room. People need a safe place to do drugs. We give people a safe place to do porn. Some people were
Whoa.
like that. Like, yeah, like, we just bury our head in the sand and like we just do the job. And I wasn't satisfied with any of these answers. And I'm like, okay, again, we have this party lifestyle. It's the pinnacle of success. We're in this luxurious, supposedly elite industry. And my drinking is out of control. My drug consumption is out of control. I'm staying awake for days now. I got exposed to cigarettes when I was like 13. And like, that's out of control. It's at a point. All of this stuff is so heightened. And I'm like, it's not working anymore. Nothing's working. The drugs aren't working. The alcohol isn't working. I can't have a cigarette and feel better. Like, I need to do something because nothing's making me feel good anymore. And this is making me feel horrible. But everyone tells me that this is good. So like, that was kind of my internal conflict, right? But I was like, okay, well, maybe if I do a big enough act of good, it'll offset all the bad that I'm doing and it'll make me feel better about myself. And so I had this like genius idea and I was like, well, I'll go overseas. I'll help a bunch of refugees. That's like dramatic enough. And we were actually building a medicinal cannabis company too at the time. So my educational background was in psychoactive psychotherapy and like alt medicine. And
Oh,
so
wow.
I didn't graduate, but it was just my background. I actually dropped
Okay.
out. No, I dropped out of university to start this medicinal cannabis company. Right.
Oh, okay,
This
okay.
was like my dream business. And so I was like, okay, I'm like, I'll go overseas. I'll help a bunch of refugees. By the time I come back, the cannabis company will be up and running and I don't have to work at the OnlyFans agency anymore. Oh, I'm a genius, right? And then like, I don't know, all karmaing or whatever. Um, and so I had mentioned before in this that I did have an exposure to faith young. And when I was about 8 years old, I think I stopped going to church. And so I just had this random memory. And I was like, oh, that church that I went to as a kid, they had like a refugee program. I'll sign up for that. So I Google the church and I do this like outreach application. And it's so wild. The outreach application never went to that department, but instead, the young adults pastor got an email and it said, Victoria wants to reach out to the church. Here's her number. Call her. So I get a call one day from this like young adults pastor, and she's like, "Hey Vic, I heard you want to come down to church. Like, do you want to come down this Thursday?" And I was like, "Okay, sure. Like, I guess maybe this is like the vetting process that like Christians do." Like, I know. And so I remember rocking up to church on a Thursday, and I'm sitting in my car at the front of this church, and I'm just like, I can't go in there. Like, I'm such a bad person. Like, I literally am going to burst into flames if I walk into this church. Like, I'm sitting there, I'm wrestling with myself. And I just go, Vic, you're here now. There's someone waiting for you. Just go in. And I end up word vomiting for hours, like to the most precious young adults pastor. Like, I don't know, I felt porn, like all the different things, right? And for hours, I'm just talking to her, and she was so beautiful. She was so kind. She just goes, I really think you should come to church this weekend. I think you'll really resonate with our guest speaker. So I rock up to church on a Sunday, and the guest speaker in church is talking about this over sexualized culture. And she's talking about OnlyFans, and she's talking about the consequences of this. And she goes into schools all around the country, and she sees how this is destroying kids. And the specific line that she said that clicked in my heart where she goes, Christians are supposed to be the salt and the light of the earth, and they have failed, and we are destroying the next generation. And it just did something within me to go, this is wrong. I'm not crazy. What we are doing is bad. And
Yeah.
so after she finished speaking, I literally, like, I was in the balcony, like at the back. I ran down to her and I just went up to her and I said, Hi, my name's Victoria. I work for an OnlyFans agency and I hate myself. And she was so beautiful. She didn't do what I thought Christians would do, like, you're going to burn in hell. Like, I don't know. But she literally just goes, let's have lunch. And this beautiful
Wow.
sat with me and she had lunch with me and she answered all my questions. And I was, isn't this positive, liberating, ethical porn, like girl power, all the things? And she just explained the truth to me. And yeah, that was on a Sunday. By the Friday, I quit the agency. I walked away from everything. I walked away from the cannabis business, all the friendships, my entire life. 8 weeks later, I'm sober and I'm baptized. And every
Whoa.
single day since then, yeah, we've been talking about this story. And so it'll be two years in August.
Wow. That is wild. So
Yeah.
8 weeks later, you're sober and baptized. What happened in those 8 weeks?
Oh my gosh. Do you have like another 10 hours? No. God, God is a big God, and he just bit by bit. It was the craziest thing. So yeah, I quit working at the agency. A lot of people that were in that world that I was really close with, they ended up going to Europe for a month, and so I was really isolated. And I didn't really understand this Jesus thing, but I'm like, I just knew in my heart that I had to follow it, no matter what it was. Like, remember that story, the extremeness of that girl who's like, shoot me? It was like, the time has come. Are you going to say, shoot me, or what are you going to do? And I just
Mm.
knew I have to follow this. And so in that 8 weeks, I had actually bended drugs 3 times. Like, I rocked up high to church once, and I was just really honest, and God was so kind. I was telling my pastors, I was vulnerable. Hey, I keep doing things I don't want to do. The things I do want to do, I don't do. Help me. And they, in their wisdom, were like, okay, they wouldn't tell me this, obviously, but they're like, let's get you into prayer ministry. And I'm like, what's prayer ministry? And they're like, it's like therapy for Christians. And then I have deliverance ministry. I repent. I get free. Like, I had five deliverances in one day in my first prayer ministry session. Um, yeah, like crazy stuff. But the power of saying, God, I'm so sorry. I didn't know any better. The freedom that comes from that, from talking to people. All of this happened. And then for the sobriety one, what had happened was, as I said, yeah, I bended drugs a couple times. I didn't want to keep doing it. And the last time that I touched cocaine and alcohol and cigarettes, I was actually going to a family member's wedding. And I was like, I'm not going to drink. I'm not going to do drugs. Like, I'll bring my vape and that'll be my vice. And before you know it, it's 2 a.m. and I'm lines deep and I'm playing table tennis. And I'm like, what am I doing? like,
Yeah.
and so the next day, I came home and I'm on my hands and knees and I'm just bawling my eyes out to Jesus. And I'm saying, Jesus, I can't do this. This is bigger than me. I need you. I need your help. Can you help me? And I literally just had this tangible experience of Jesus putting his left hand on my head saying, I'm going to heal you from this. And that was the last day I touched anything supernatural sobriety. Like,
Jeez, come
was
on.
gone, you know?
Wow.
Yeah. And so God's just been so kind. I have stories for hours of the ways that he's led me. And like, I didn't even know what fasting was. And I just had this thought. I was like, I think I need to go away and like not eat for a day.
Oh, jeez.
And then that's when Jesus revealed himself to me. And then that's where I was like, I think I need to get baptized. And I don't recommend this for people. This is just what happened in my story. But I didn't even understand what baptism was until about like 6 months after it. But when I got baptized, I felt the Lord ask me to do that. And when I said, like my testimony, I said, I'm not doing this to gain anything, but just to show Jesus that I've given up every single element of my life. And I'll do that for you because nothing else matters. Like, I'm just doing this to show you that I love you. Um, it wasn't until I obviously got into the scriptures and I understood a lot more of the significance of these things. But yeah, God's just been so kind to just lead me in these whispers of, go away, go fast. I want you to get baptized. I'm going to heal you. Let's get into prayer ministry. Let's heal together. And he's just done a really beautiful work, you know?
It's incredible. I'm so glad my audience is hearing your story. This is just like, it's so inspiring and so good to hear from a different angle and a different source. It's amazing. Okay, so I'm kind of like timelining things together. This always helps me. So 5 days after that sermon, you quit your job at the agency, you pull out of the cannabis business, it's about 8 weeks, 2 months of like living for Jesus, figuring some things out, some stumbles along the way. You get supernatural sobriety, you get baptized. And then what? What happens after that?
Okay, so for a little bit of time, and it was the most humbling experience. Oh my goodness. I went and worked at a coffee shop. So imagine I'm going from being in like multi-million-dollar mansions to cleaning toilets and making coffees. Like, it was so humbling. And so I did that for a little
dispensing
bit.
a different kind of drug, I guess, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was so interesting. God just, I met my spiritual mum there. She walked into the coffee shop and we just connected. And again, it was just really, it was such a safe place to just heal and not think too hard and just go and work and be in a different environment. And from there, I was like, okay, I need to get like a big kid job again. Like, I need my life to start. Like, I can't work at a coffee shop forever. So I got back into startups and I got back into creative marketing for an organization, well, for a company. Really excellent job. It could have been a career forever. But what ended up happening is I start volunteering. So that lady who spoke on Sunday, her name's Melinda Tankard-Reist, and yeah, she goes into schools. And so I started volunteering with her, going into schools, sharing this story with young girls. And I am just telling anyone and everyone who wants to hear about this radical transformation. I'm like, yeah, on TikTok, I'm on Instagram, like I'm chatting to everyone, right? Just telling them about Jesus. And last year, I had a whisper from God in January that he goes, go home and pack your bags because you're leaving. And I had this sense that I'm going overseas somewhere. And that was in January. And then there's a whole story there, but we kind of fast forward to March of last year. And one of my videos of me speaking at a school goes viral and I freak out and I go into a fast for 3 days. And in this fast, God goes, I want you to quit this new job, like this career job that you're doing. I want you to empty your bank accounts. And I had been I in this period from January to the fast, got connected with an organization in America, and they said, "Hey, if you're ever in America, we would love to have you on a podcast." Now, remember how I said back in January that God goes, "Pack your bags because you're leaving." I
Right. Yep.
said to the organization, I was like, "It's so funny that you say that. I've had this thought that like I might come to America soon. Like it just came out of me from that thought in January." So now I'm in this fast in March, and God goes, "I want you to quit your job. I want you to empty your bank accounts, and I want you to say yes to going to America." And so I'm like, okay. So
Wow.
I come out of this fast. I quit the job. I empty my bank accounts to zero. And I reach out to this organization and I say, "Hey, I'm coming to America. Like, I would love to come on your podcast." And from there, it just grew. And that's when I did my first tour in July last year. And then, yeah, I just spent 3 months in America. I've been back for about 6 weeks now. And I guess this is what I do now to try and give you the timeline.
Yeah,
Yeah.
jeez, it's amazing though. But really, again, just very humbling reminder of what it looks like to just live a surrendered life to God, right? And to see the doors He opens, the places He takes you, because your story is like exploding, right? Like a lot of people know your name. My team was like shocked, like what? Like Victoria's going to be on our podcast? That's amazing, because your story has just reached such incredible heights, and it's reaching a lot of people, inspiring a lot of people. Are you surprised at just the way it's gained traction over the last little bit? Because you've only been doing this, it's really just been, it sounds like about a year and a half, the timeline
Yeah.
roughly, right?
Yeah. I don't want to cry. I think the thing that is so, like, especially being the past 3 months in America, it is so humbling that we have such a kind God because everything is about Jesus. Everything points to Jesus, but He's so kind that He tailor makes these adventures for us and He knows what we need, each individual, what we love, what brings us alive. And He goes, "As you point everything towards my glory, I'm going to take you on this adventure of a lifetime that is so fulfilling, that is so joy filled that you can't comprehend." And I just think that we have such a kind God that He would do that for us. And so I think for me, it's, to be honest, all of this stuff it is so humbling. I love speaking. I love what it facilitates. I love praying for people. I love the freedom that this story represents, the redemption. But for me, when I think about it and I ponder on this, I get overwhelmed by the kindness and the mercy of our God, that He would look at me who sells porn and is addicted to drugs and is depressed and suicidal and all the things that I was, and go, "I'm going to love that girl back to life." And that's exactly what He did. And it's just so beautiful that He wants to share this story of loving me back to life with other people, so then other people can know that they're worthy and valuable and that they can be loved back to life by Jesus too. So I could go on about that forever, but I don't have words for how cool our God is. I just love Him, and it's just honoring and it's just humbling, and yeah, Jesus is just really special.
Well said. I agree. Are you getting backlash? Because I guess you kind of, it sounds like, I guess you sort of just left, hidden for a little bit. Now you have a voice, you have a brand, you have a message that is very much against what you were doing before. Are you getting backlash from the people you used to work with, or OnlyFans models or creators or anything like that? Or do they not really care?
I don't think that OnlyFans really cares at this point, to be honest with you. I did get backlash from the agency. They did try to sue me, but that got sorted out. I know.
What did they try to sue you for?
For defamation.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. But like, honestly, I'm so glad that happened, because now legally, we have proof of everything. You know what I mean? Because it's like, hey, wait a minute. None of that was, so it was a great thing. And people also, I think that when I have these conversations and people are like, "Well, how do you feel? Like, you lost all your friends and you this and you that." And I go, "Yeah." And they're like, "Is that so hard?" And I go, "But you also have to understand from their perspective. I went one day from being team OnlyFans life and kind of to literally in less than a week going, 'Nah, guys, this is whack.' Like, if you don't understand Jesus, you go, 'This chick has lost her mind. Who does she
lost her marbles. Yeah.
And that would be really hurtful, and especially if they have shame within them or whatever, and they don't like what they're doing. And then I'm talking about all the things that we're doing. Like, I can't imagine the complexities of how confusing that is for someone. So
Yeah.
that's why I think as well that it's one of those things where it's like, I'm sure there is hate. Like, I'm sure there is, but you just can't. What do you do? Our lives are, if you say yes to Jesus, you don't say yes to an easy life. The way that Jesus was revealed was through a brutal death on a cross. How Jesus is revealed in us is through the crushing. It's through the persecution. It's through the backlash. Like, there's nowhere that it says that this is going to be easy. And so I think that if anyone thinks that you'll come to Jesus and do stuff like this and it's glamorous and it's easy, it's fulfilling, but man, you will get crushed. And that's a part of the journey, and that's a part of the honor of sharing in that suffering with Jesus.
Yeah, and that message needs to be heard again and again and again in our
Yeah.
society, especially in America. I'm not sure what it's like in Australia, but definitely in North America, we're very, very convenience driven and cushioned a little bit, and that message is so core to the gospel and so good for us to hear. Um, you have an audience of men who have struggled with pornography, men who have probably used OnlyFans before, men who want to live with integrity, who I think could even identify with the parts of your story that I didn't even know about, just that there was a struggle with drugs and with alcohol, and that, like, Jesus, I believe, help me. I do the things I don't want to do. You have their attention, Victoria. An incredible story, and I'm so grateful for just what you're sharing. Do you have any last words or anything you'd want to say to my audience that maybe we haven't covered or we haven't touched on yet?
That's I think that's the biggest thing that I can recommend to anyone. And I think that if there's any man that's listening, you're probably in the right place, but be ruthless and be undeniable with your healing journey. Let God into every single piece of your heart. It might feel overwhelming and like it's too much and it's scary, but it's not, because that's where freedom is. And I think that if you can continue to push into the hard, push into the ugly emotions, push into the yucky, the scary, into talking to people about it and saying, yeah, I watched it, I did that. Like, just bring everything in ruthless and reckless vulnerability to people, and just watch how God will change your heart. Watch how he'll heal those parts that you thought were too dirty. He'll look at you and say, thank you for being honest with me. Let's love you back to life. And I think with men, there's so much shame, there's so much condemnation. And I'm hoping that in hearing this story, for any man that is on the other side of this, is you have a little bit more context to the industry that you're up against. And so now, how do we champion you? How do you champion yourself to go, okay, I've heard this. I get there's an industry targeting me now. I want to rise up. I want to be better. I want to do more. I have grace for myself, but I'm going to be ruthless in pursuing being a better man. I'm in an environment with you that I can do that. And I'm in a context, I'm in a brotherhood, and let's go hard at becoming the best possible version of myself that I can be. And you'll watch that you'll conquer this, and it'll be a thing of the past.
Yeah, so well said. So well said. Victoria, if people want to connect with you, find out more about what you're up to, what's the best way for them to do that?
Yeah. So my Instagram is victoria.sinis, and I just started a podcast. We're actually full debriefing the America tour in it right now. So that's
Oh,
the Creating
sweet.
Gems. Yeah, it's so fun. That's the Creating Gems.
Creating
I just
Gems.
forgot my name. I was like, Creating Gems with what's my name? Creating Gems with Victoria Sinis. Wow. So yeah, you can come hang out on YouTube with me. It's so much fun. We just deep diving into everything and taking people along for this adventure. And then I have started, this is an accountability thing, but I've started my TikTok again because I love the conversations.
Okay,
So
great.
come hang out on TikTok and just ask me questions and let's just chat. And yeah, I really love the environment that TikTok facilitates from that perspective. So they're the three main ways.
You got it. Yeah, we'll put links to all that in the show notes. Victoria, amazing story. Thank you so much for your time today.
Yeah, thank you for having me.